Hi everybody. So today I'm going to be talking about my history as a stutterer, or person who stutters. Remember, video yesterday, stutterer, person who stutters. I don't care. You might. That's fine. My videos. So when I was, I think when I either just started school, must have been when I just started school, they found something with my speech, and I can just remember that. It's right on the edge of my memory. Was it a stutter? I don't actually know. I think it was that I didn't pronounce words properly, because I can remember that I always used to say city, shitty, or something like that, or city. No, it must have been shitty. Anyway, there was that, and I didn't pronounce words properly, so I went to speech therapy. And I think what happened, I was raised by my grandparents, is that I can remember, I think it was my grandfather, could have been both of my grandparents, picking me up from school, taking me to speech therapy every now and again. I would have only been about 5 years of age, and doing something. I don't know what it is. I can remember where I went from one school. They used to have a speech therapist at the other school, and then I used to go back. Could have been once a week, could have been once a month. I really don't know. So that was when I was about 5. After that, don't remember a thing. There was nothing with my speech. And when I think back to particularly when I was in what used to be called Standard 3, which is around about when you're about 9. I was the loudest person in class from what I can remember, but each year there used to be a speech therapist who used to come round to the school, and she used to get everybody to go down the corridor into this room with her, and you'd be asked to count to 10 and say your ABC. And all I can remember is that in previous years I used to race through it, and maybe I thought if I did it really quick I'd be able to get through it. I didn't consciously know that I stuttered. I just knew there was something scary, something with an edge on about that performance test each year. So I used to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Z in New Zealand, not Z like America. This one year, she pulled me up, and I don't know if she pulled me up when I was doing the test or probably afterwards, and she detected a stutter. It was the worst thing that ever happened. What I can remember, and of course it's a long time ago, but what I can remember, I had a part in a play, I had a part in the Pied Piper, and I pulled out of it. And I pulled out of it because all my confidence was gone, and I think I had a label on my head that said Rob Stutters, that I had put there, well, with her help. And so it was as if I had decided what a person with a stutter can do and can't do. And one of the things that you can't do is play the town crier. I think it was town crier, in the Pied Piper in a play. So I pulled out of that, and then I went from being the loudest kid in class to what I think was the quietest one, and I was always avoiding anything to do with speaking in public, as in standing up in front of the class. Used to be a roll call sometimes, and I think you had to say your name or something like that. It wasn't every day, but it was every now and again. But it was definitely when you went to a new class or you went to a new school at the start of the year. They'd go around, "Hi, I'm Rob, Willie, blah de blah." So that's where the stutter started. Well, I shouldn't say where the stutter started. That was where the stutter was diagnosed. And to be perfectly honest, I really wish it hadn't been, because I think I might have been fine. And I've met people who have very disfluent speech, but it doesn't affect them. They still do whatever they want to do, and I haven't. Even to this day, I haven't. Sometimes, though, when I think back, I have done a lot of things that I'm quite surprised I've done. Like, I think back and I think, well, I must have gone into such and such a situation at a various time, and I must have gone into this such and such a situation at a various time, but I can't necessarily remember doing it. Because usually if I think that I'll stutter, I'll avoid the situation. That's what I've done a lot. Not so much since I've been doing the Maguire program, as long as I'm in technique, as long as I'm practicing. But just focusing or coming back to one aspect there, I mentioned about public speaking. I avoided it like the plague. So without exception, every public speaking situation, which was only ever to say my name or something like that, was never to give a speech, was a failure. And it was a failure all the way through until I did my intensive course for the Maguire program in Palmerston North. And I had so much confidence on that first course. It was absolutely amazing. It was a completely different me. I never experienced anything so exhilarating. I just wanted to speak, and I wanted to speak to everybody about everything. Wasn't quite like that when I was driving home from the course. I found that funny, but definitely in the course environment, unbelievable. But so that is my speaking history, and just one of the things when I was growing up, teens, it was a nightmare trying to do a job interview, because everybody with the jobs that I was applying for expected that you would have good communication skills and be able to speak on telephone. And I can remember that was always a really embarrassing thing, saying that I've got a stutter. Probably pretty damn obvious anyway, but you tell people that you had a stutter, and it was basically the end of the interview. And that's why I never got an office job, and I always had to do physical, manual jobs most of the time. Yeah, pretty sad, really. But I do blame my stutter, but ultimately I was the one who let it dictate me. We'll say that for another story another day. Until next time, bye for now.